Video 1.1, Navigating DOL.gov. So let's take a quick tour of DOL.gov. And so from this section, we already went to agencies, wage and hour division, and we searched for Davis-Bacon and related acts. It actually was not as user-friendly as I wanted it to be. So when I went to the search, I just searched for it. The wage and hour division, and then I literally couldn't find it. So I had to search Davis Bacon. And then it came up as this first gray box, and then I clicked in there. So already you can see it's not as user-friendly as the DIR. It feels very bureaucratic and that they don't want me to find what I'm looking for, but maybe I just don't navigate it well enough. Anywho, this is going to be a primary resource hub for all federal labor complaints, including wage determinations, compliance guides, and something called a WH-347. It's a payroll form that's specific to federal projects. So if you bookmark this exact section of the page, at the top it says DOL.gov/agencies/WHD/government-contracts/construction. That will save you a ton of time because then you can just try to search throughout this website for what you're looking for. When we give our clients a suggestion or a reason why they might want to follow the law, because we're simply consulting them, we're just giving them good ideas, is I like to include the labor codes. So whatever labor code you find, whatever resource you find, sometimes it's useful to say, according to the labor code, the federal labor code, this is why employees need to be paid overtime, or this is why this needs to happen. Sometimes as you learn, your clients will say they don't care about that. And that's fine. We can just let them know if they ever want that resource, we'll give it to them. It just makes it a little bit easier. Sometimes they're looking for really quick emails. They're too busy to go through all the labor laws. So on the screen, again, they have the search. You can click for resources and it'll actually have the forms. One of the forms that's going to be helpful is the WH-347. So you can scroll down. Thankfully, it's in order. Isn't that nice? And there's the WH-347. They have a new form that just came out. It is orange. And that's really the only difference. They've added a few extra boxes. But there's also an instruction manual. And the instruction is just, it's one page. But it will explain to you what the boxes are for, what to put in project name, what to put under project number. So if we bring up the form, see, it's orange. Looking at this can be kind of overwhelming. Before you try to analyze it, what it's telling whoever we send this report to, usually it's a general contractor or it's a awarding body, it's the main person who's going to issue the money to our client. And what this tells them is who worked on the job, what type of work they did. Were they a carpenter? Were they a painter? Were they a tile layer? How much did they get paid per hour? Because that person is going to look at the wage determination and say, how much should they be paid per hour? It's going to list how many hours they worked just in covered work, just in prevailing wage work. It will typically list what they worked total for the week, whether that was at the office, if it was loading up a truck. It does not have to be covered work. They might have only worked 2 days on this job, but they worked 40 hours in multiple different locations, or maybe other covered work. That's fine. So it's what's on this job, what's total for the week. My dogs make weird noises. I apologize. You probably hear that. It's also going to ask what was their hourly rate, what was their overtime rate, what were their taxes, what were any benefits, fringe benefits that are going to be claimed, maybe 401k or health insurance. And then what did they get paid at the end of the week for all their work? So when you get a pay stub, you do not have to try to figure out, okay, they worked 8 hours on this job. Then they worked 3.5 hours for overtime. How do I divide this paycheck out to reflect? No, you're just going to write down how many hours they worked here, what their hourly rate was when they're on this job as a prevailing wage worker, what did they get paid on their paycheck, how did that get allocated by taxes, and what was their final check amount. And that's pretty much it. And for the state, for California, for instance, you'll add additional, like the check number. You might add the last four of their social. There's just a few little tweaks that you need to add. The second page of this document, again, can look like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to cry. Don't, please. No tears. This is just the back side of the same page. It's called the Statement of Compliance. It pretty much lets whoever, again, reads it know that these people hired me. My client hired me to do this. They gave me documentation. Based on what they gave me, this is what I filled out. And there's a few other boxes. Was the person paid prevailing wage? Well, yeah, why am I filling this form out if they weren't? So yeah, you check that box. Is this a classification of work that each worker performed? Again, to the best of our knowledge, it is. If they said, if our client told us that everyone working on the job is a carpenter and come to find out they were doing plumbing installation, I wouldn't know that. I'm not on the job site. So based on what they give us, yes, they're a carpenter. If it gets discovered later that they were doing plumbing and they should have been paying a different rate, then we can assist them there. That's not our job necessarily to break that part down. It's just to make sure that what they're telling us, they paid correctly. And then the biggest part of this one is this hourly credit. And there's another training all just on this form, but it explains the fringe benefits that are included. So every wage determination has a base hourly rate, maybe $30, and then a fringe amount, maybe $20. For federal, those are just two lump sums. As long as you pay your employees $50 an hour, boom, you're good. In California, for instance, and in some other states, as long that $20 fringe amount is broken up, maybe $8 in health and welfare, $2 for vacation, $5 for I think it's, gosh, why did I forget? Oh, like pension. So it'll all be broken up and it'll tell you how much goes where. Again, another training for another day. But what this form is asking you for is FB, fringe benefit. What is the name? Is it a 401k plan that the employer says, hey, per person I pay about $1.12 an hour into that. I shouldn't have to also pay the person $1.12 an hour. Great, let's write all that plan down. Let's write down what that credit is. And we just fill out the form, again, based on what they've told us. A lot of times new analysts will get hung up on wanting it to be right, and we do want it to be right. We don't always know the answers. So maybe we don't know if the plan is funded or unfunded. Well, let's go research it. Let's go back to those instructions and see what it says. Don't spend so much time trying to break this form down to try to understand it. Sometimes we just have the information and we fill it in. And we don't always have all the answers. We just do our best. And then at the end, the form asks you to please, oh, I think my picture's in the way. It asks you for any other remarks, which you might say, I don't know, employee is union worker, all their fringes are paid to the union. And then a signature of whoever would be the signer, which in many cases is you. You're allowed to sign saying, again, based on what they gave me, I filled this out. So the scary part for a lot of analysts is that at the bottom it says if you've willfully falsified this, you could be subject to criminal prosecution. Well, as it should be. If I know something, I know maybe they are doing plumbing work, but I wrote down carpenter anyway because they wanted to pay less. Well, that's a problem. If we know it's not accurate, we should not be standing behind it. If we don't know, we don't necessarily have to be Columbo and go on a hunt and search to try to find out what their scope of work is. If they told us carpenter and we know carpenter and we know nothing else about any other activities they're doing, then carpenter is what it is. And we put that down and we move on. So if you make an accident, you're not going to jail. No one's putting you in prison because you thought something based on what they told you. So hopefully that calms you down. The one thing to remember is that every time you start a new federal project, just visit this page. Go back. Let's go back. Go back to the DOL site. Go in there, refresh a little bit, search up prevailing wage, see what comes up. If there's anything, maybe a new law or anything like that, it brings up Davis-Bacon, great. Maybe you're doing a job in Texas, you want to read up about, wait a second, that looks like that might apply to me. Just refresh yourself for a bit until you're so comfortable with it. You don't need to visit as often.